the Enchanted Mirror, and the Clever Cobbler. Chapter 1. The Strange Visitor. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by hills, there lived a young cobbler named Thomas. He was known for making the best shoes in the entire region, and people would come from far and wide to buy his creations. Thomas wasn't rich, but he was content with his simple life, fixing shoes in his cozy little shop. One chilly autumn afternoon, as Thomas was about to close his shop for the day, an old woman appeared at his door. Her clothes were tattered, and her hair was long and gray, but her eyes sparkled like she held a secret. "Good evening," the woman said in a soft voice. "I've heard of your skills, young man. I have something for you to mend." From her bag, she pulled out a beautiful but cracked mirror. Its frame was gold and decorated with tiny jewels, but the glass was broken in several places. Thomas scratched his head. "I'm a cobbler, not a mirror maker," he said kindly. "I fix shoes, not glass." The woman smiled mysteriously. "Oh, but this mirror is special. Fix the frame, and something magical might happen. I'm willing to pay handsomely for your work." Intrigued by her words and the beauty of the mirror, Thomas agreed to try. Chapter 2. The Hidden Power. For days, Thomas worked carefully on the mirror's frame. He polished the gold and reset the tiny jewels, but the glass remained broken, just as the old woman had left it. One evening, after finishing the repairs on the frame, Thomas noticed something strange. As he gazed into the cracked glass, the reflection didn't show his little shop, but a forest that Thomas had never seen before. The trees were tall, and the air seemed filled with the sound of whispers. The mirror, it seemed, was enchanted. Curious, Thomas reached out to touch the glass. The moment his fingers brushed the surface, a soft glow filled the room. Before he could pull his hand away, the glass rippled like water, and Thomas was pulled through the mirror. Chapter 3. The Enchanted Forest. When Thomas opened his eyes, he found himself standing in the very forest he had seen in the mirror. The trees were taller than any he had ever seen, and the air smelled of pine and flowers. A narrow path stretched out before him, winding deeper into the woods. "Where am I?" Thomas whispered to himself. Before he could take a step, a small bird flew down and landed on a branch above him. Its feathers were silver, and its eyes glowed like tiny stars. "Welcome, Thomas," the bird said in a cheerful voice. "I am Sylvia, the guardian of this forest. You are in the Enchanted Woods, a place only a few humans have ever seen. But be careful, the forest is full of wonders and dangers." Thomas was astonished to hear a bird talk, but after everything that had happened, he wasn't completely surprised. "How do I get back home?" he asked. "First, you must complete a task," Sylvia replied. "A long time ago, this forest was ruled by a kind and wise queen. But her magical mirror was stolen, and ever since, the forest has been slowly losing its magic. If you can find the stolen piece of the mirror and return it to the queen, you will be able to go home." Chapter 4. The Forgotten Village. Thomas set off down the narrow path, with Sylvia flying above him. As they traveled deeper into the forest, the trees grew darker, and strange shadows seemed to dance between the branches. After what felt like hours, they came upon a small, forgotten village. The houses were empty, and the streets were silent. Only the wind moved, stirring leaves and dust. This village was once full of life, Sylvia explained sadly. But when the magic started to fade, the people left, and the village was abandoned. Somewhere here lies a clue to finding the mirror's stolen piece. Thomas searched the village, checking the empty houses and old wells. Finally, in the attic of a crumbling cottage, he found a dusty book. Its pages were yellow with age, but one page caught his attention. It showed a map of the forest with a red X marked near a mountain. "This must be where the stolen piece is hidden," Thomas said, excited. But as he turned to leave, he heard a noise from behind him. A pair of glowing eyes appeared in the shadows. Chapter 5. The Trickster Fox. Out from the shadows stepped a fox, its fur as black as night and its eyes bright green. It smiled slyly at Thomas. Well, what do we have here?" the fox said. "A clever human, I see. You've found the map to the mirror piece. But do you think you can take it?" Thomas gripped the map tightly. "I need to return the mirror piece to the queen. Can you help me?" The fox chuckled. "Help you? Perhaps. But everything in this forest comes with a price. If you want my help, you must give me something in return." Thomas thought for a moment. He didn't have much to offer, but then he remembered something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, beautifully crafted shoe buckle he had been working on. "I'll give you this," Thomas said, showing the fox the shiny buckle. The fox sniffed the buckle and nodded in approval. "Very well, I accept. Follow me." Chapter 6. The Cave of Echoes. The fox led Thomas and Sylvia to the base of a tall mountain, where the entrance to a dark cave awaited them. "The mirror piece is hidden deep inside the Cave of Echoes," the fox said. "But be warned, the cave has a mind of its own. It will try to trick you with your own fears." Thomas took a deep breath and stepped into the cave, with Sylvia lighting the way with her silver feathers. The cave was cold and damp, and every sound echoed endlessly. As they went deeper, strange whispers filled the air. Thomas could hear his own voice repeating his doubts and fears. "You'll never find it," the echoes said. "You'll be trapped here forever." But Thomas refused to listen. "I won't give up," he told himself, and he continued forward. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached a hidden chamber. In the center of the room, surrounded by glowing crystals, was the missing piece of the Enchanted Mirror. Chapter 7. The Return of Magic. Thomas carefully picked up the mirror piece, feeling its magic pulse through his fingers. As soon as he touched it, the cave began to shake. "Hurry," Sylvia cried. "The cave is collapsing." With the piece safely in his hands, Thomas ran as fast as he could, dodging falling rocks and slipping on the wet ground. The fox darted ahead, leading them out of the cave just in time. Outside, the forest seemed brighter, as if the very air had changed. The trees were greener, and flowers began to bloom along the path. "You did it," Sylvia chirped happily. "The magic is returning." But Thomas knew his task wasn't over yet. "We still need to bring this piece back to the Queen," he said. Chapter 8: The Queen's Gratitude. Sylvia guided Thomas to the heart of the forest, where a beautiful palace made of crystal stood. Inside, the Queen was waiting. She was tall and graceful, with eyes that sparkled like the stars, and her smile was warm and kind. "You have done well, Thomas," the Queen said, her voice soft and melodic. "You have restored what was lost." Thomas handed her the mirror piece, and as soon as the Queen placed it back into the mirror's frame, a brilliant light filled the room. The magic of the forest had been fully restored. "As a reward for your bravery and kindness, I will grant you one wish," the Queen said. Thomas thought for a moment, but his answer was simple. "I wish to go home." The Queen smiled. "Your wish is granted." With a wave of her hand, the mirror glowed once more, and Thomas found himself back in his little cobbler's shop. The enchanted mirror was gone, but the memory of his adventure remained. From that day on, Thomas lived his life as usual, making shoes for the villagers. But every now and then, he would find a silver feather on his doorstep, reminding him of the magical forest and the friends he had made there. And so, the enchanted forest continued to thrive, its magic stronger than ever, thanks to the clever cobbler who had restored it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. See you next time.